Maybe before the questions, I just have a few announcements to make. This Monday is a very sacred day for me every year. It's the day when my teacher, Rudi, took his Samadhi. As many of you know, probably most of you know, he died in an airplane crash. I was in that crash with him up in the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York. And Monday is the day it happened, and the 21st of February. And it's usually, I will have, I'm going to try to have, usually I don't have a class here, in Europe and the Middle East, but I'm going to try to figure out to have a class here on Monday. Maybe I won't have the class on Sunday, and I'll instead have it on Monday. I think it would be a very good opportunity for people to learn about Rudi. It should be a really powerful class. It is every year. For me, this time of the year is always the most powerful time of the year. I mean, I can barely do anything this time of year. I mean, the energy is so strong. So I suggest I will, I will have a class with you all on Monday, celebration of Rudi's Samadhi. And I maybe, or maybe not, I'll have a class on Sunday. I'll see how I feel Sunday. But there will definitely be a class on Monday. So, as I say, none of us would be sitting here doing the meditation if it wasn't for Rudi. The greatest gift that he left the world is this double breathing exercise that we practice here, because that exercise by itself makes everything manifest. It makes everything possible within us to grow. It makes it possible to have a spiritual life. It all depends on how we practice it, If we practice it in a very deep way every day, half hour, an hour, you understand the results are extraordinary when you do it for months and God knows years at a time. So, the 21st of February is a very sacred day. In fact, I just finished writing a pretty long poem called In Memoriam, which I'm going to try to get somebody to set to music. I have a student who's a composer, a musician, and we'll see what's going to happen, The second announcement is that on the 5th of March till the 12th of March, I'm going to be going on vacation. And, where the sun is warm and the beaches are nice, I'm going to take a break. I need a break from winters in the Northeast. And this has been a very intense, year of work, 2 years of work for me. And vacations is something I very rarely do. There will be a strong Wi-Fi where I'm going to be. So I probably will have at least one, maybe two classes with you all while I'm, at the beach. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? Well, I hope there are questions. Because
Stuart,
yes.
Is there anything that we can do as students to prepare for Rudi's Samadhi?
To what?
To prepare for Rudi's Samadhi. Is there something we can do, or?
Well, what you can do is just your inner work. You grow at the rate that you are doing your inner work. And if you sit down every day, not only in preparation for Rudi's Samadhi, in preparation for one's own Samadhi, doing the inner work, going as deep as you can each day, opening more, developing a chakra system is the key to succeeding, at a special class like Rudi's Samadhi. But it's really, not only the Samadhi, we all ultimately have to have our own Samadhi. Nobody lives here forever. We're born on the earth to learn how to do that, how to build an inner life that's strong enough so that when we do leave the planet Earth, we're one with God, you know? We have done what is necessary for us to do here in order to be free of coming back and continuing this round of suffering and difficulty that goes on for forever for people unless they develop consciousness. So it's not only Rudi's Samadhi, it's one's own Samadhi. It's one's own connection with God, one's own inner, development, so that when the time comes that we leave the world, we leave in a state of, total surrender, total nothingness. We really have done what we were here to do, taking care of our responsibilities, our family, learning how to love, learning how to, live with open hearts and compassion and forgiveness, understand, and learning at the same time, that we're working out our karma, how to build an inner life that makes it possible for us to be connected to higher energy in the universe. And being connected to that energy, we learn how essential it is that we serve that energy. Most people serve their minds. And that's why there's so much neurosis and craziness in the world. Because people serve the ego, they serve the mind. There's no depth of surrender inside where they let go and connect with the energy force that's infinite in the universe. And with gratitude and with love, we learn how to use that connection in our daily lives in the world. It's essential. So that, you don't just sit down and do your work in preparation for a special day in the year. You do your work in preparation for your own samadhi, your own oneness with God, your own freedom from everything one has to learn on the planet Earth. So what I suggest is, it's coming Monday, just do your inner work. Come quiet, come relaxed, come open, come ready to really develop and continue to develop the chakra system. I mean, the best thing, honestly, that I can do for my teacher, I had a very great master, who trained me. The best thing I can do for him, and he told me this over and over again. He said, don't build shrines for me. Don't, do all these things, just do your inner work. You build your connection to God. You develop your own, ability to attain a state of enlightenment in this. You will do the best service that you can possibly do for me. Because a teacher has to pass the teachings on. And, lip service, gratitude, and all that doesn't amount to anything. But doing the work in oneself, ultimately coming to a place inside where enlightenment becomes a real goal. And you do whatever you have to do to attain that state. Doesn't mean you stop living with your family and doing your jobs. It just means you take on another dimension in your daily life. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I mean, this is not a hard thing to understand. It's a difficult thing to do. Because it really requires inner work that brings us to a place of surrender that most people are not used to going to. And all it does in daily life is it brings more love to the people we love. It brings more consciousness in how we interact with them. It brings, a greater degree of, learning how to get free in the world. I mean, God is love, and that's real freedom. That's the only way to get free of your karma. God is love, love. Love for people in your life, love for God, unconditional love. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
I have a question, Stuart. During the day, your attention is really taken away a lot of times by a lot of things who ask your attention. So then again, meditation is not so present anymore in my being, which is a pity actually. So this attention, I think it's not the first time I ask it, but is there a way to put this attention somewhere inside during the day, or because there's so many things?
Yes, there are ways, Paul, and it has to do with how deeply you work in the meditation class while you're taking the meditation class, how deeply you work when you meditate at home, when and you can't expect when a situation in the material objective world gets difficult to suddenly rely on meditation to get you through it. What you can do is say, I need to build a system when I do meditate that is strong enough that I can organically handle these situations without allowing them to throw me off my balance. So every class, every time you sit down on your own and meditate, every time you do it is an opportunity to build that kind of system. And then what happens is your whole inner life changes. And when you are up against a lot of tension and difficulty in the world, you understand, you bring that with you. You understand, you can deal with it because you have a system inside that's capable of dealing with it. So you don't get swept out of yourself. You don't get lost in it. You don't get angry. You just deal with it because your system allows you to step into it and not be torn apart by it. So that is really what the meditation is for. Not when, I remember once I was, I've told this story, but I'll tell it again. There was a very great Sufi saint named, Perrin Khan. He was wonderful. And he was invited to Rudi's meditation center to give a talk. And he was, wonderful, sweet man, very wise, and he gave a talk. And in the back of the audience there were a bunch of people making a lot of noise, a racket. They were part of some Muslim group in New York that was very angry and, that kind of thing, and they were just, and when Perrin had finished his talk, he left and he went upstairs to Rudi's apartments. And we went out in the hallway and these people were there. And it looked like they were ready to start a fight. And I remember one of Rudi's students was standing there and he was doing the double breathing exercise. All this was going on. And Rudi looked at him and said, "Schmuck, there's no time to do the double breathing exercise. Just stay centered inside and, and be prepared for what is going to happen here, And it was a great education. I don't know if it educated that guy, but it certainly educated me, because each moment is different. Each moment requires a different kind of consciousness. That moment required a complete stability and awareness, a calmness, and it required, to build that kind of inner life while you meditate, before you get into that moment, so that the moment really passes without, creating a nightmare. And that's what the meditation is for, is building that kind of inner life. You know, so this is very interesting because people think, well, I'm here in a, I mean, look, to be honest, look, I spent many years of my life being in fairly large business, and one of the reasons I did it, it was constantly bringing into my life those kinds of moments. And they were always a reminder to me that I needed to work on myself. And finally, when I was able to be in those kinds of moments without being thrown off balance, without being able to deal with them quietly and calmly, and it showed me how much I had grown in my life. And a lot of the reasons why, yeah, sure, I needed to make a lot of money and all that stuff. But another big reason was it always presented me with those kinds of moments. And they were incredible teachers for me. And as I grew and grew in myself, and I was able to deal with them more calmly and quietly, and not screaming and yelling and fighting with people, I said, Stuart, you're really evolving and growing. It was a tremendous marker on the pathway in my spiritual growth to see how I could deal with those things calmly. But it didn't mean I did the double breathing exercise while that was going. It's not the answer.
It's 2 o'clock.
Does anyone else have a question you would like to ask?
Thank you.
I remember, just to finish this, I remember I was in Jaipur, India, and I walked into a place that sold art and antiques and stuff like that. And I walked in the door and I was surrounded by about 10 salesmen. I mean, they saw a white guy walk in the door and bingo, money. First thing in their brains is dollar signs. And these guys were really arrogant. They were really nasty. And I did something that was very interesting. They had a big statue of Ganesh there. And I know that, the Hindus, worship Ganesh. And one of the reasons they worship is supposed to bring success and money and prosperity in the world. So I went up to the big statue and I took out a 100 rupee note and I just put it on the statue. And all of these 10 guys just stopped. And they looked at me and they said, "Are you Hindu?" And I said, "No, I'm not Hindu, but I understand how important it is, how important Ganesh is in the lives of Hindu people." From that point on, every one of these salesmen that were ready to eat me alive, they made friends with me. And by the time I left that gallery, there was a line there of 10 salesmen wanting to give me a hug before I left the gallery. It was extraordinary. And all it took was a little consciousness of what to do and how to function and not to get upset, just to stay balanced inside. I mean, India was a great place to learn this. I'll tell you, day in and day out, you had to be balanced just to be able to be there. Incredible. Nice. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, so, I'm not sure if there'll be a class Sunday. If you don't get an invite from me, the classes, don't worry, the class will be on Monday. And one day is Rudi Samadhi. I probably will have a class Sunday, but we'll see what happens. So, but anyway, thank you. God bless you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody the next few days. And I say it all the time, I'll repeat it again. I can't tell you the gratitude I have for every single one of you being here, working on yourself, being a presence that makes me go really deep inside myself in order to fulfill what I have to do here. So thank you, bless you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all soon. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.